Welcome everyone, it's Shari Carroll here with my Happy New Year January 2024 art journal page, and I'm creating something a little bit different for this year. I decided to go with some circle dies, and I'm still going to connect these onto my Simon Says stamp ring clip. So this is my 2024 celebration entry, and I've done something a little bit different with this. I was a little bit curious as to how the Tim Holtz glazes would work on the sparkle paper. So on my 3.5-inch circle of sparkle paper, and this is the Kraft stock from Tim Holtz, I'm just putting this down onto the stencil on the back side and taping that down with our low tech tape. And for my color, I've chosen the Tim Holtz Speckled Egg Glaze, and I thought this would be really pretty on this Twinkle stencil. So I'm going to ink this up. I'm using one of the domed foam pieces on my mini ink blending tool, and I'm using the Simon Says stamp clear ink. And I'm just going to press this clear ink right through the stencil onto the sparkle paper. And then I can remove the stencil, and you can see that clear ink on the sparkle paper. Next, I'm going to cover this with the Speckled Egg Glaze, and I'll make sure I tap off all the excess. And then I'll use my heat gun on the high setting, and I'll melt that embossing glaze right into the paper. Once I have that heated, I not only have a really nice glossy sheen from the embossing glaze, but I also entrapped all the sparkle. Since this is my New Year's 2024 tag entry, I'll be using the CZ Design Champagne Flute for this, and I have cut one out using Simon Says stamp champagne colored cardstock. It's really nice metallic, and it goes really well with my background. I'm wanting to create a see-through shaker card, so I have my acetate here, and I'm just trimming it down to a piece that I can work with. And before trimming the acetate completely down, I'm going to add some glue just around that flute area of the champagne glass, and I'm just using little dots of the Simon Says stamp Kraft tacky glue. And then I'll take a paper towel and gently blot up any of those larger dots of glue so they won't squeeze out and get onto the acetate. So once I have those ready, I can set my acetate piece down, and I'm just going to go to the base of that champagne flute. And then I'll do the same to a white piece that I've cut out, and this will be for the back. Again, I'll blot off some of that excess glue and lay my piece of acetate on top. Then I'll set these aside and let them dry a little bit before trimming them down. By using the paper as a guide, I'm just going to use my scissors and trim around the edge until I have a nice clean champagne flute with the acetate. Now it's time to build up some layers of the champagne flute so that I can sandwich some sequins in between, and I'm using the Simon Says stamp glue once again to cover the entire flute and start layering up my inner pieces of my shaker. Depending on the embellishment mix that you're using, you may want to layer these up a little bit. I've added about 6 layers in total since some of my sequins are flat. And before I glue everything together, I like to use a Swiffer and wipe down the acetate. This removes any of the static before I entrap those sequins. Next, you'll want to add your sequins, and I like to make sure that they're sitting flat and none of them are doubled up. I also want to make sure that I check the height so that these can move freely inside before I glue everything together. Once I have all my sequins ready, I can add some glue to the back side of the champagne flute, and then gently place this on top and make sure I have all those edges matched up, and I'll let this set and dry. I have die cut an additional circle out of white cardstock, so this is a 4-inch circle, and I'll be placing my 3.5-inch sparkle paper on top. And to glue these together, again, I'll be using my Simon Says stamp Kraft tacky glue, and just do a nice fine line of glue. And then I can put my circles together and make sure that I have an even amount of border around the edges. I'll be using the Simon Says stamp glue to glue the flute down onto the tag, and I'm just doing little amounts of dots, and I want to make sure I get a good amount so that this will stick nicely onto that sparkle paper. And once I have that placed, I have a see-through shaker card. And next I'm going to be adding a message, and I'm using the CZ Design little banners, and these have some great messages, and for this one I am using To Love. I've cut the banner piece out of the champagne cardstock from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm using some 1/4-inch foam squares, and I have those doubled up so this can sit on top of that flute and lifted above it. I've cut To Love out of just plain white cardstock, and I'm using my glue once again. I want to make sure I get some of the glue in between those letters so it can sit right on top of that banner. So once I have my glue applied, I can place this right on top of that champagne banner. I want to add the year to this tag entry, and so I've used the Tim Holtz alphanumeric label dies, and this has a really nice size number die, and I'm just using the Simon Says Stamp glue, and I'll be placing the year just above To Love. So this is how my entry turned out. I do love the shaker element. I love that I can put it on my Simon Says Stamp ring clip, and I can keep adding different circles to this journal. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I do have all my supplies listed below, and also a link to our blog post for more information. And as always, thanks for watching and Happy New Year.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.